Today on Gamer's Couch.
Time do Mysterium.
Honey, why can't you speak any other languages than German and English?
And Simlish?
What is Simlish?
Oh,
Okay, well, yeah, it's not really a language. Hi there, welcome
Hello.
to the couch. Today, as he already kind of announced, there's a Mysterium to solve, which is, how do you pronounce that?
Yeah, please read this for yourself and your own mind voice, because
Ow!
I'm sorry.
No problem.
That was actually not intended to have her mind voice called bump. But we're off to a great start.
Wow!
However, I can tell you what this means, I guess. It's, well, I've been told it roughly translates into mysterious mansion or mystery mansion, but the French edition of this game is called Mysterium, as far as I know, so we'll go with Mysterium. That's short, and I would assume you will find the game by looking for Mysterium on the internet. Which is a bit odd, because this game has not seen an English release as of yet, so maybe soonish, or I'm pretty sure that this year there's an English version coming out. So no English version, no German version, which is why we have the Polish version. There's another edition of the game that has some slightly different rules. I might say something to that later, if I remember, but...
Okay, so you won't.
For what it's worth, we're going off the Polish version that we have here, because that's the one we played with the rule sets that
We played it with.
we played, yeah.
So, if you're new to the couch or the channel itself, first, welcome.
Mind your head.
And second, we always go as follows. He's gonna explain the rules and gameplay of whatever game we have on the couch, and then we go into what we liked and disliked about the game. And last but not least, we start... well, why do I always say stop instead of finish or wrap up?
I'm not even trying to say something.
We wrap up and finish the video with funny stories and experiences. So sit back, take your tea, coffee, whatever beverage you might have with you, and let's start with the... Oh no, I gotta talk slowly. Now start with
What, you
the
said I should grab my
explanation.
beverage and...
Them, not you. Be prepared. Hakuna
No,
Matata.
we're not doing the Lion King.
No. So, honey, start. Tell us what Mysterium is all about.
A good 100 years ago,
I'm warm.
my wife was warm. Also...
Now I'm cold. Ow.
Well, that is actually more topical, because roughly 100 years ago, a murder has been committed in a mansion. Now, you and your friends are part of a team of psychic investigators, you may call them Ghostbusters, to go into that mansion and find out what the spirit wants from everybody. Spoilers, he wants to communicate who killed whom, or better said, who killed someone, and well, the thing is, I don't think he was killed by him. He was framed for murdering someone.
Yeah, he was framed.
So,
yeah.
Your job is to go in there, talk to that spirit, find out who's the true murderer, where he committed the murder, and how he did it. And you're going to do that using cards. And although it is a game where one player will play as the spirit and all the other players will play as investigators, it is a true cooperative game. So everybody has the intent of solving the murder. Well, the ghost already knows who it was, but that's kind of the game there. Because it's then your job to try to explain to the others what happened. Let's get started. So at first you pick one of these lovely investigators, and that already gives you a very good hint. Add a ghost to these and you have the player count, so you can play this up to 7 players, 6 investigators, 1 ghost. And you'll get these wonderful wooden tokens to indicate stuff. You get these little clocks that surprisingly match on your card, which is there to mark your progress, which we'll get to just now. So at the beginning of the game, and depending how many players there are, there's multiple of these on the table, but all in all, there's 3 types of cards that will be placed on the table. These are the object cards. Look like this. So this is obviously a paddle. This is
it's a cricket.
It's not. It is
thing.
Obviously a paddle. Let me tell you right away. This is if you want to paddle someone, this is the thing to use. So let's say 6 of these are on the table already. Then going up next are these cards, which are the location cards, and at least now you realize this is a really nice looking game, some very beautiful artwork going on here. And last but not least, here's a couple cards here that look like this, which are the characters. So you have now the what was used in the murder, where was the murder committed, and who committed the murder. Now, as a general setup, you always have more cards out there than investigators taking part, but always the same amount. So let's say you have 2 investigators, and there would be 6 characters out there, 6 locations, and 6 objects. Now, what the ghost does is he has a very similar deck, which actually is using the same cards. Again, locations, characters, and objects, and they also look the same. In fact, they are the same deck. The thing that the ghost does, or the spirit does, is find the 6 cards on the table that are in this deck, secretly choose 1 of each per investigator, make a little package out of them, take the token of the investigator and put it on top. Now, by going forward, the spirit will give visions to an investigator, trying to tell him who he represents in the story, where he was, and what he did. And the job of the investigator is to find all that out. And once everybody found everything out, there's only one question remaining: who was the true culprit? Which leaves just the characters on the table, and then the ghost has to communicate to all the investigators, and not individual ones, who the true culprit is. So let's take a look at how rounds work. And before that, obviously you're working for money, so the landlord only has given you 7 days to get rid of the spirit, one way or another. I guess you could just throw the player out if he's not good, whatever. You have 7 days to figure stuff out. On each day, it's always the same. Now imagine all those cards in front of you. The ghost picked for each player a set of 3. The next thing the spirit or ghost is doing is drawing cards from his dream deck. Because the spirit is dead, he's not allowed to talk to anybody or give any other kind of clue as to which card belongs to what player. And in the first turn, it's always that everybody tries to figure out what they were using. After they find out what they did, the next thing is where did they do it, and only after they find out that, they're allowed to get hints to indicate who they are. The spirit, each turn for each player, chooses some of these cards, and the way it works is you draw up to 6, then look at your 6 cards, and all of these have very, well, not as meaningful pictures on them as you might imagine. If you're familiar with the game Dixit, this is quite similar to that. So the spirit has 6 of these on hand, he knows which card each player has to guess. So from these 6, he chooses as many as he wants and passes them to one of the investigators, draws back up to 6, chooses again one or more dream cards, passes it to the next one, and then again draws up to 6 until everybody has gotten some dreams. Now, investigators get the dreams well, publicly. As I said, the spirit is just not allowed to give any additional hints. So these cards are your only means of communicating anything to players. And there's a whole range of how this can work, because after you handed out the dreams, the investigators now have to interpret the dreams they received. And as with dreams, it's not always obvious what's going on. So it could be someone played this card, but what does it mean? There's like a monster in the dark? Is that the clue he's talking about? There's like sharp objects up here. Is he? And maybe there's an object in front of you that looks like a knife, but also a scissors. Could they be both? One of them? We don't know. Maybe he's just referring to this is a very blue, gloomy environment, and the card that he's hinting at is also in the same color. So there's a whole range of possibilities of interpreting those, which quite frankly makes the main point of the game. After that, each investigator places his little token on the card on the table that he thinks belongs to him, and after everybody's done that, the ghosts will either say or and then if they are right, that card gets flipped over, the blue card gets flipped over. They may advance their little clock token from what to where, or from where to who. And then the spirit is allowed to give hints towards the next card on the next turn. And as shown here, there's 7 turns only. So if you haven't found it out after 7 turns, the game is over. Once each investigator has figured out who what he did, where he did it, and who he is in that setting, the spirit then also does a very similar thing by having 6 cards on hand. Again, being able to play as many as he wants, but he doesn't give it to one individual investigator. He gives it to all of them to indicate from the remaining characters that have been figured out by all the players. So you kind of remove every card, what did he, where did he, the only things that are left at the end of the first kind of dream interpretation stuff are then the 2 or 3 cards, depending how many investigators you have, pointing at a specific character. And the spirit just has to hint at one of those who is the true culprit, and he does that by, well, taking his own these character cards, shuffling them, and then either picking one at random or selecting one, depending how difficult you want the game to be. It's actually quite freeform in that regard. And after the investigators found out that, you won the game, all of you. If they don't, you all lost the game. So it's actually probably one of the more simplest games we talk about on the couch, I think.
Yeah.
Now, I said there's a different variant, so as far as I understood, the Ukrainian rules work a little bit differently in regards that, yes, the investigators have to find out the same thing, like what did they, where did they do it, and who did it. But at the end of the game, you don't just have to figure out who's the true culprit, but you actually have to figure out who it was, where it was, and what was being used from the cards referring to the players. And the spirit is only allowed to play 3 cards, 1 for each category, and then trying to figure it out. Yeah, it sounds a little bit more difficult, but then again, in that version, the spirit always has 7 cards on hand and has a little bit more variety. That being said, and we're almost going into the what I think session, it almost always seems that you don't have the right card on hand to convey what you want to convey. But yeah, that's it. It's I would imagine you could also play this even using Dixit cards. So all you do is you have these different cards that indicate a person, a location, and an object, and you give abstract painting green cards out to hint what is what. I would even go so far to say this is Dixit with a purpose, where the purpose is not getting points, but trying to solve a murder.
And now you took away my crime time.
Oh,
crime time, Dixit. No problem, money.
CSI Dixit. Yeah.
CSI Dixit. Yeah, right. But yeah, so he finished the session number 1. Check. It's so quick today.
Yeah, today it's a goodbye.
But it's a rather simple game. So let's go into the next section, likes and dislikes. Since you pretty much are on the flow, do you want to go on or do you want to listen first?
I mean, maybe it's good for other people to not hear me all the time, but I can share some words of what I think. What do you prefer? I don't. Good night. Bye.
Professional. Well, let's wake them up with my not so fairy tale talking whatever voice. First, I'm a big sucker for Dixit. I love these kinds of games. So getting Mysterium was like, yeah! 2 things that I really, really like. Mystery solving and Dixit. So this is a lovely, lovely game for me. Great game. And I really enjoy the artwork of each of the cards. I have to say they're really, really lovely done. They're not as cartoony or fairy tale book illustration kind of style as Dixit is. They're way more on the mystery crime kind of feel, a bit more ghostly, way more grays, less, like I said, cartoony styles in there, but gorgeous and so many details, which on the one hand makes it easy and on the other hand makes it very difficult for both the ghost and the investigator to pick something in a certain card that you actually want to communicate or get communicated to. So this is not just like you have your object of kill, choice, whatever was the paddle. It's not only that you just have a boat and it's for sure, but it could be pretty much anything. It could be a huge amount of water that just says, hey, go for the paddle, you know. It could just be colors. It could just be a lot of wood on your card. So you really have to look and try to think like the other one. It doesn't matter if you're the ghost or the investigator. Really try to get into the other person's head, knowing that there's the problem. Maybe the ghost wants to say something, but he just doesn't have the cards, which is one thing as well. So it's not, it might be sometimes easy to forget that this is a co-op game. So you're yelling at the ghost, well, what are you going
What kind of ghost are you?
Are you trying, what, why, how? And then you have to remember, that he maybe did not have the cards to tell me.
I have to say, at least from all the games we played, it's
at least once.
The spirit has the most frustrating job among all of them.
Yeah. So I really like this working together, sharing the dreams that you receive with the other players, just talking on the table, having goofy, funny jokes, trying to figure out whatever what you want to figure out, like object, location, whatnot, and listening to what other people think and how they get to their conclusion of whatever. It's just really interesting, and I love these kinds of games that you can play while you really talk at the table. It's very, very much about communication, of course, and yeah, figuring out how other people think. So it opens your mind quite a bit. I really like it. We definitely have to play it with Dixit card once. I want to try. And other than that, I also just like the way the components are put together. I really like the quality. I like the feel of the cards, the size of the cards. I like those keyhole shaped investigator tokens. I really like the drawings on them. They just feel nice. They're very solid, and yeah, I'm just very happy about the game, and it plays very well with 2 or 4 people. We tried both of that, and I like when a game doesn't really have a sweet spot, but you can play it with any kinds of players, any amount of players. So really, really enjoyed this game. It's lovely. How about you?
Yeah, difficulty scales with the amount of players by always having more cards, each of one of each. Blah again. Having more cards per category than players at the table, so that there's still something. Obviously, the more players you have, the more cards you have on the table. So the hints you're giving might relate to more different cards, which I think makes it more interesting. I'm not as straightforward. So I'd lean to I prefer this game rather with more than with less players. But it certainly is, even as a 2-player game, where one in a 2-player game, the one playing the investigator side plays 2 investigators, just to even things out a little bit and get things done. Yeah, as thoughts, you already said it. The artwork is really nice. There's also some very subtle choices in there that are not as apparent at first sight, but are in there. These dream cards are, I don't want to say they're color tinted, but each of these cards has a very clear, like, overall base color scheme to it that almost always refers to the other cards. It is very prominent on the objects. If you look at these, it could almost, each of those can be identified just by the background color, even without looking at what's on there. So even something like that. So you have not only the actual object on the actual motive on the picture as a thing, but also the framing, the background color, the materials involved. And as you said, especially the location cards have so many small details in here. You start, it's almost like a hidden object game picture. You start looking at very subtle hints, like, oh, there's a small key on this one, and the other one he's referring to something being locked or something. Is that the hint he was giving? But then on the other side, there may be another card on there that has a very similar thing on it. Maybe a trunk, which can also be locked, and maybe that was being referred to. So I think there's an art to making things ambiguous on purpose, and I very much appreciate those with the cards that come with this game, and the art style really supports that. It has
a mystery feeling, right?
Yeah, to me it feels very much like some of the point-and-click adventure games that came out for the PC in I'd say the 90s, and that has a very similar art style to it. Despite the name, it is not a horror game or anything in regards to that. Even though you're communicating with the spirit, you could yeah, you might even frame that in a different thing, but I think it's a nice explanation of how weird that is with getting dreams in forms of cards, and they are weird by definition, and you start interpreting those dreams by discussing them with everybody on the table. It's a very, very cool theme to put this in, and if you were kind of lacking that in Dixit, this is certainly the game for you. Other than that, I played, I think, the Spirit more often than I played the Investigator, and I have to say that
there were 3 rounds where you were not the ghost.
Yeah, but we played together. So we played this with 2 and with 4.
Yeah, I mean in total. You played the ghost for me twice. I only played it once. Okay. And then with the 4 of us, you played the ghost twice. So all the other rounds you...
Yeah. So I'd say that I just want to reiterate what I said earlier with the job of the ghost is way more frustrating than the one of the investigators. Yes, you're severely disappointed if the ghost says when you placed your little token wrong. And what I forgot to mention, you actually keep your dream cards in front of you until you solve what card you're trying to solve, and only then they go back. So you start getting a trail of hints that you may compare and contrast and look for similarities if the ghost was actually thinking about putting similarities in there. And it is certainly a game that you need to experience the discussion and I'm trying to figure out what someone is telling me to see the magic of the entire thing unfold. There's I saw some promo material available on the internet. At least I saw that on Board Game Geek, where you can also add in a spirit board so that the spirit has more ways to communicate, and you can make the game easier. Even the rules offer some ways where you, as the spirit, can discard his full hand of cards once per game or once per round, and that's all up to you. I mean, that's kind of the way we house ruled it as well. When I'm playing the ghost, it's almost, I really try very hard not to just discard my hand and work with what I've got, which makes the thing interesting. And to be honest, even if you discard your hand, chances are that the cards you're getting are probably not a lot better. There's some cards or some things they're a dead-on match because it is so obvious, but only if you know the people at the table, if they know you, what you're associating with certain things, and sometimes it doesn't work out at all. So
yeah, it's really a nice way to also get to know people that that are like not your family and best friends whom you know inside out, but if you have maybe a new gaming group or just meet new people at whatever occasion, just to get to know them, how they think, that's really a lovely way to do that. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, playing it and yelling at the ghosts is a lot of fun.
And the investigators are all encouraged to help each other. So there's a lot of communication going on at the table, even though you may not be able to speak as the ghost. But I agree, this is...
you can find out how your investigators think and play to that, being the ghost, just listening what they say. So that's a good thing.
I agree, and I would say Mysterium is even a better party/icebreaker game than Dixit. Due to the fact that you're communicating with other players, you're not just
against each other.
You're not just trying to think what somebody else is thinking, which only happens surprise in your head, unless you're like me and like, I think, let me explain to you what my thoughts are. That's something we're doing right now. But it is.
Let me explain the world to you.
It is a lot nicer to talk to other players about that.
And the other thing is, Dixit is not co-op.
Yeah,
it's actually competitive. So, with having it a cooperative game, this is a really well, an advantage or an extra to have Mysterium as an icebreaker game at a party or whatever.
And it's component-wise, it is there's only so few things that you need to play this game. It's literally just those 4 different types of cards and the player boards, and even you don't really need those. It's just a nice add-on to give a little bit more personality to the investigators.
Yeah. And I mean, there's Sherlock answer, or a Sherlock character, which is like totally cool. Yeah. I really like it. I just like how much detail went into the artwork. That I don't know how many hours or how many different artists worked on those, but this looks like a job that takes a long time.
Yeah, I'm from an art side. I'm always kind of fascinated by that. If there's so, just to give you an idea, this is the entire dream deck that the ghost had, minus a card. No, so this is the entire dream deck the ghost has, and despite all those cards being weird, they're
all different.
The art style somehow fits. So.
The art style fits, but there's nothing that the artist copy, like parts of a painting that or a piece that you have on more than one card. It's never exactly the same. There's no copy work going on.
Maybe that's because I'm not an artist, but I'm kind of fascinated by if we have so many different, very different feeling things, but they also share as the same kind of design direction.
Yeah, that's true. The style is exactly the same. So I bet this is one artist, not 2. But
or maybe 2 collaborating very closely.
I don't want to sound too, that's pretentious, but from the line work, I'd say this is one artist or 2 that have been working together for ages. And looked at how the other person did their work. You can see the differences in Dixit way more as you can see them in here. So I'd say one artist.
So this lists 4 illustrators for the game. But that being said, I have to say these character cards
they're not like the dream cards.
They feel different. As well as do these location cards. I would only say the things that are closer to each other are the location and the object cards.
I think the dream deck is done by one person. That's one person, I'd say.
In any regard, all
Let
of
us
you
know if you know.
All of you who worked on this, good job.
Yeah, very well
much
done.
And enjoy. And Sarah really likes her hidden object games, and you could pick any of those cards and make a level out of them because they're so rich in information that is hidden.
Yeah, you can look at them. There's a saying, I don't know by which photographer, but it goes like, if you can look at a picture more than 4 seconds, it's a really good one. And these pictures, I can look minutes at those. Minutes at a time and still find something new and fascinating. So, yeah.
And
I will never be bored.
Segueing kind of in our gameplay experience, but we had multiple moments where the ghost as well as the investigators were agonizing over each single card, trying to figure out what is the little hint that is in there, or did the stupid ass just get rid of his cards and not tell us in some way. So that what I was about to say, if the game as is too hard for you, you can go online, and Board Game Geek has a promo setup called this a spirit board that allows you to communicate as the spirit and give additional hints. But most of those, again, only once per game. And in terms of after someone has placed their token and done all that, you can give hints that are along the lines of think more simple. So it's literally saying something like rattle the cupboard or a door shuts, and these are events that similar to a poltergeist where the ghost just does these, and they can then or are then interpreted as think more simple. Don't trust what the other jackasses are trying to tell you at the table, or something like that.
Yeah. Before we go into the third section of the video, let's rate, shall we?
Sure. You start.
I start. Well, on my scale, very personal scale, from 1 to awesome, this is a solid awesome. It's a very, very, very good game. I really, really like it. There's nothing in there, or component-wise, production-wise, where I say, meh, not my kind of thing. It's just a lovely, lovely game. So, I see you were roaming through the dream stack. So what's your rating? Totally simple, right? You figured it out? Well, let us know in the comment section below what your guess is. And now let's go into the funny stories experience. And please let me know if you can translate Robbenpaddel into English, because I can't. I was thinking about that the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, well, the cricket thing, ow, sorry. So, the funny thing is that with these object cards, they're so obvious, you know? But there's only one in there where everybody has another opinion of what this is. Of course, mine is right, being the cricket.
Oh, I know that it's a
thing.
It is a cricket thing, but I was hoping that everybody's seen the Simpsons episode where they're like, if you're not a good boy, I'm going to pedal you.
Honey, you made the rowing paddle from a boat in the first ever game that we played with this one. He was trying to communicate something ship thing. So I chose that, and then I remembered it on the day that we played it with our friends. So I said, yeah, well, I'm trying to help a bit with how he acts as a ghost.
He even talked about this, but you weren't in the room. I talked to the other guys.
I wasn't. I was upstairs publishing the last week's Gamers Couch, but I heard you like muffled when you were on the balcony. Anyways, I told them, you know, he might also think this is a rowing ship like paddle thingy, and said that while setting up, and maybe like 1.5 minutes later, somebody had to find this one out. It was me, and he had a ship reference again.
And this card was being played, this dream card, which is obviously an underwater setting. Yes, there's statues of Anubis on there, and yes, there's a safe on that one. But
it's
we
underwater.
just talked about this is water related. At least go work with me.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know the English translation for what you call it, the Robbenprügler?
Oh, the Robbenklopfer.
How do you say it? I mean, you can explain it. And we laughed about that the whole night.
So the Robbenklopfer is a stick that is being used to kill baby seals.
Yeah.
Which is horrible. Obviously, but yeah, we are not good people. We, in general, specifically, not.
We're very sarcastic
when playing games. Yeah.
Well, but it just there's another level to, or another layer to the word Robbenklopfer in German. And it's really difficult to translate that or to tell that, because
klopfen means to knock, as knocking on a door. So if you have a seal
knocking
It's,
on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, that was one thing, and otherwise it was just various kinds of yelling at the ghost for, come on, dream a bit clearer, for God's sakes!
Yeah.
Like what the F are you trying to tell me here?
Yeah, and it even gets so worse that people started discussing and thinking about. It took him fairly long to pick a dream card, so.
Maybe
Then it can't be obvious. It has to be something like the color or the thing on there. And for some of these that went quite well. So I got a dream card of a brass chandelier, and that took so long that I said, okay, maybe it's only referring to brass as the material. And then it turns out that was exactly what we were looking for, because it was, I think, a brass can or something like that on the card.
But I also liked these moments that the three of us were trying to figure out what the ghost or the spirit wanted to tell one of us, and the three of us discussing or just looking at the cards that one of us got in, I think it was 2 rounds, and just helping, the other person interpret what the ghost wanted to say. And Styx and I both looked at the cards like, yeah, it's totally drugs. He's on acid, so it has to be the seller with the.
I've figured out.
So quick. And the third player doubted us for a bit longer, just because that's just not the way he thinks. So he didn't see what we saw.
Even if you're not familiar with Breaking Bad, and I hope it's light enough for you to see this. So this is a cellar with a alchemy set on top of a barrel.
Yeah.
So if that is not at the least some moonshine production that's going on here, or some more synthetic at worst, then I don't know. But someone then coming up to saying this, well, there's a ball on there. Maybe he was referring to the ball, or it's wooden. Probably it's.
Yeah, well, there were other cards where there were also wooden pieces and balls, but the dream cards that you gave him were clearly acid or just tripping for the two of us. And I looked at you, and it was so difficult for you to I was like, yes, finally somebody gets me, but like sitting there as a ghost,
I was
telling nothing,
crying on the inside, very.
And once the token was finally placed by the third player onto the acid card, he was like almost flipping the table, like, for God's sakes, they told you 2 rounds ago, why did you not go for this? This is so clearly going for drugs. We were laughing so hard, having so much fun with just like, that's totally obvious, right? This is dreaming things, this is fantasy weird stuff. He's tripping on acid. But anyway.
Tripping balls.
So yeah, I can't wait to give this a shot with either of our parents. Yeah. So that's something I really look forward to, just to see if they like it as much as they liked Dixit, or if they even like it more, just because there's a mystery to be solved and a crime scene happening someplace.
Given that our family prefers co-op, I wouldn't say it prefers co-op by far, but if in a pinch they lean more towards co-op games for having fun and just seems to be
having a good time chatting
to fit the bill a little bit better than Dixit. Although
my mom really likes.
I think Dixit in itself is so unique with the you play something and you try to match it but fool other players, and I really like bluffing games and games where you actively play or try to bluff all the other players at the same time. So this. I would say these, if you have to get one, make it dependent on if you want to cooperate or work against each other. And if you're not sure, start with this one. I mean, you can't go wrong with a game that supports 2 to 7 players. Is actually quite quick to set up and to play, very easy to teach,
very easy to learn, and you don't get discouraged by it not being published in German or English or what other language you might speak that you know. Don't be discouraged. This is just
so
fluff. You don't need to have the text there.
This is the only this is the only text that is on here, and nobody cares. So
and the others with the tokens, and you don't care.
Do it.
Oh, I don't.
You
care.
may do it like me and just download the English translation of the Portal Games manual, and
you're good to go.
Or rewatch me trying to explain to you how this works, but it is very simple.
Yeah, very much so.
And if you're interested, give the other rule set a try. I mean, we certainly will probably
at one point, definitely.
At one point,
sure.
And until there's an official English version, and then you may look up what they settled on rule-wise. But I think this is a game that gives you enough freedom to house rule a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, and play as it best suits you. And if the things are too easy for everybody to solve, bring up more cards, or well, as in the other rules
take
stated,
a shot whenever you misplace your token. It will get more difficult every turn. I can promise you that.
There's so many things you can do to adjust difficulty. And still, it stays true to its core. Where it's
like
all
for
about
example, the
dreams
investigators cannot communicate as well. Everybody has to solve their own dream first. They only can communicate in the last round when they have to.
I think that would be a detriment. Maybe it would be an interesting thing to add if there's something like a randomness where. Let's say maybe not that everybody may not communicate, but
only one. You can only ask one other investigator what they think, but not the other.
Yeah,
others.
You only have let's say you have 3 investigators, and you always have a pair of 2 that are not allowed to communicate, but they're not the same. So
me with you, you with him. Blah blah blah.
With Anton, I may give a clue to Anton. Anton may give a clue to you, but we may not talk or something. Yeah, that might be
be more difficult for you then in that game, but maybe that's something that you prefer. So just get creative if you think this is too simple or too easy for you. You can always make it more difficult.
We certainly felt like we earned the victory after we figured out who the culprit was, and we almost always had to go to day 6 or 7 to actually be able to try to figure out who the culprit is, and then having to identify the culprit right away. Yeah.
And I think that is a beautiful sentence to wrap up the video, huh? Or do you want to add anything, or I guess we covered it all? Yeah? Ghostbusters.
I wanna add something.
Not
Goodbye.
my hand.
Too late.
Anyways. Professional. Click. Thanks very much for watching.
Professional and our you may not be aware of this, but it's quite windy outside, so our shutters are going like, and it's like we're talking about this game about spirits and sending dreams and rattling to give us an indicator.
It wants to tell us wrap up the video. Yeah. So here I go. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments, any questions, any ideas on what he wanted to tell you with the cards, how much he liked it, leave it in the comment section below.
Actually, send us a picture, and we go on interpreting. Oh yeah, he really likes us. That
would be cool to do. So if you can do that, anyways. Otherwise, blah. Where was I?
Like, subscribe.
Oh yeah.
And
Share is good. Always sharing is caring, as we all know. Do the YouTube thing? Oh, new thing. If you happen to have an Instagram account, I do have one now as well, where I do post work in progress photos also of the Gamers Couch, not only the artwork. So just check out Pinselgeschichten on Instagram. And
so wait, that's me without makeup on there?
You without pants. Yeah, while he recovers from the shock, maybe he forgets the hand. Thanks again very much. Like, share, subscribe, as he already said. If you have any questions, let us know. Any comments, anything you want to throw at us. And we're going to see you next week with a new Gamers Couch next Sunday. Have a very good one. Enjoy. And now you can do it with a hand or the card on my goodbye. Take good care.